This is a Renew original recording. Hello and welcome to Believe in People, a two-time Radio Academy Award nominated and British Podcast Award-winning series about all things addiction, recovery and stigma. My name is Matthew Butler and I'm your host, or as I like to say, your facilitator. In the concluding part of this two-part conversation, Andy Woodward returns to examine the long-term effects of childhood trauma and how these experiences contributed to his later struggles of alcohol use. A false rape accusation in 2015 marked a significant turning point, removing the external structures such as careers in football and policing that had previously provided stability. Without those frameworks, alcohol became a means of coping with unresolved trauma from the past. Andy discusses the psychological impacts of trauma, including anxiety, panic, and difficulties forming secure relationships. He reflects on the media attention following his 2016 disclosures and the lack of aftercare that followed. Central to this episode is the recognition that relationships with substance misuse can develop as a response to prolonged emotional distress, and that recovery often begins with understanding that link. Andy's account also highlights the challenges of seeking help and the importance of individualised approaches to treatment. He goes on to describe his evolving relationship with alcohol, including his time in rehab and his openness to exploring multiple pathways towards recovery. Andy emphasises the value of living in the present, approaching change with energy and honesty, and respecting the varied ways people manage their relationship with substances. His story underscores the importance of choice, flexibility, and trauma-informed support in recovery journeys.
First of all, thank you for having me back for part two, because part two is about, the relationships that occurred previous, but also the relationships that happened in the last 9 years. And I'll revert to that later on because it's about relationships, resilience and recovery. This is a start of part two, which I'll go on about. And when you talk then about, being a footballer and being in that group mentality and the discipline of it, I was disciplined. Yeah. I used to go out. I didn't say, I was just like the rest of everybody else, really, go out at weekend, but I was disciplined because I needed to play. And there's some footballers that did drink, and it's been prevalently put out there. But myself, I didn't. I just drank socially with the lads, etc. And then in the police career, I'd say, because it's trauma-based, really, because you're in that role and you're there to protect people, but you see an awful lot. And I did meet a lot of officers that were potentially dependent on drink. I can't speak for them, but I'd say around, I've looked back on it, and around about, again, it's the synergy of 2013-ish, where Gary Speed took his life. There was a lot of turmoil in my life, and I think it started to catch up with me again. And that progressed, but it wasn't where I was drinking so heavily. And the 2015 incident where I'd mentioned before, I was arrested for something that even to this day, I'm still traumatized by it. But that significance of somebody accusing me of something that, one, I didn't do, and two, within the role I was doing, it sent me on the biggest spiral ever, because that trauma that came with that and all the trauma from my childhood, to be accused of something that I didn't do. For the record, I proved that. I more than proved it. And the institute called the police are supposed to protect people, and they're also to protect staff. Now, that really started my huge downward spiral.
Talk to me a little bit about that incident, because it's been a while since we last spoke, to be fair, and not to I sound bad saying this, but I don't fully remember us talking about an arrest and what happened.
Yeah. Well,
can you just refresh my memory?
Yeah,
on that
we'll start it there, really. 2013, like I said just before, I'd started with, Gary Speed's death, etc. I'd done an article with the Sunday Times magazine where I was approached. And the only reason I wanted to do that, when I've always been about protecting others and me take the flat for it, they started knocking on my sister's door and started to pry into her life and my mum and dad's. And they asked me to sort it out. So I agreed to do an article in the Sunday Times anonymously. And it was to talk about Gary Speed's death. which I did do, but the senior officers in the constabulary were made aware of, because I was then told that an inspector had to come with me off duty, not on duty, to watch and observe everything that I said. At the time, I just thought that was protocol.
Yeah.
But I'm off duty doing an article. I'm
It's
not talking
anonymous,
about the police. I'm talking about my childhood. But that, I look back on that, and that was strange. That was odd, which I just went along with. And I give the article, and following that, I got dragged into a senior officer meeting, and I was sat along in a table with, high senior officers asking me about, and literally I felt like I was being interviewed about why I was doing this magazine. Bear in mind, in 2003, I'd seen Binnell in prison because I had a claim against Crew. And they'd said that they wouldn't put me on any sexual offences, which I was on every single one, which I mentioned.
You saying that,
yeah. But here it was like, again, a reiteration of, okay, Andy, we will look after you. And then following that, the amount of files I was given for paedophilia cases of pornographic images and videos, and sitting in the headquarters from 8 a.m. till midday, literally sifting through paedophilia on an industrial scale, that any person would say, surely that's not right, when they already knew what I'd gone through as a child. And I'm not making excuses for what happened following that, but that in itself is enough to take somebody to a very dark place, which I just got on and did. And I was always a yes person, always been that through my life because of the abuse. And then following that, I'd say I started to spiral, and then they asked me, you see, everything within the police, it was like I didn't go for it. I was asked to. And they asked me if I'd do a family liaison officer role, which I thought, I can help families that, in murders and things like that, you have to be there to protect the family, but also you are an investigator, but you're there to support a family. And for me, it was my niche. That's, I've always been like that, and I dealt with, I think it was 2 or 3 within the year. This was 2014 and 15. And ironically, I bumped into one of the mums just recently, and she hugged me and said, thank you for everything you did, Andy, and, breaking the story. But I did everything from my heart. Yeah. And then this one time in 2015, an inspector just grabbed me at the night time and said, I need you to do a job for me. I need you to work your magic. And I was like, magic? What is it? And it was a woman that was not engaging with the police. Her brother was a subject to a victim of a serious crime. And I said, yeah, typical me, yeah. I was drained and all that. And I don't want to go into too much detail right now, but I got embroiled in this family liaison job. And what is by law is that, looking back on it all, I wish I'd have been stronger, but by law within that establishment, again, protection is all about protection, is that a family liaison officer should be in twos at all times to protect both officers, and you've got witnesses to everything that you do. Yeah. And there's a book that you have to fill in. Now, I was on my own. And again, I'm not making excuses for what followed, but I was vulnerable. I was on my own. And this lady made advances, and I ended up crossing the line. Yeah. And messages were sent, and there was meetings with us, etc. Now, with that, what came following that, and my marriage started to really struggle because I'd done wrong. Yeah. I own that. I'd done wrong. I'd crossed the line, and I knew that I'd gone against what the policies were. Yeah. I was vulnerable.
That code of conduct of being a police
exactly
officer.
That.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And, I was at a point where me and my wife at the time, I was going under. and I could feel myself sinking. And I left the marital home, and this person then sent me a message. She'd found out that I'd left the area. And her message was of this, and I have that documented, as I do all the files, as I'm not saying anything untoward here. I'm telling truth. And what it was, watch what happens now. And on the Wednesday, I went into my workplace and I was arrested. And it was the most serious arrest that anybody can actually comprehend. And I was arrested on suspicion of rape.
Okay.
Broke my heart. How somebody could, one, accuse somebody of that, and two, really, that I was in the police station with all my colleagues coming into work and be put in that scenario. To this day, that's a wrong.
Because you can never come back to that job after that, can you?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
I knew, one, the allegation.
Yeah.
And there's so many allegations that are out there. I mean, right now we're talking about, the big one that's out there at the moment, is he innocent? Is he innocent? I proved it. And not only proved it, I'll tell you in a second, but that, that doubt in somebody's mind, did he do it? Didn't he do it?
The fact that the people that you would have considered maybe, friends, and we always say this about work colleagues, you spend more time with them than you do with your family, So those people that you are close to are now having this interpretation of you. And even, as you said, to be found out innocent, the fact that they thought that about you, it's just really hard to rebuild a relationship after an allegation like that is made about
it is
you.
In full stop,
And I imagine, not to interject here, but I imagine as someone who is a victim of rape, to then be accused as a perpetrator of it, falsely accused, that must be even more heartbreaking because you know what it's like to be a victim of that crime as well.
Exactly that. But prior to all that, my ex-wife was starting to feel frightened because she knew about this individual, and there was items being delivered to the door, including a picture frame saying Andrew loves the wife in Scrabble letters. And I was in fear. I was getting frightened and she was getting frightened, but I was in fear to go to the establishment that is the police, because back then, this was 2015, people weren't speaking out about anything really then. And I was frightened to death and I was in fear. But that then, the horrible feeling of being in that situation, put in a cell, knowing full well what the other person had actually done to someone that give nothing but care and love and didn't do anything wrong other than leave the area and not want to participate within that cross line that I'd done.
Yeah.
And, I told the police the full truth, nothing but the truth. I told them to take my phone and please look at it. I've crossed the line.
Yeah.
If I lose my job, I lose my job. I'm.
You brought the conduct to the police officers, but the police establishment, but you haven't committed a crime.
Well, no. Yeah. And it was that. I mean, the job in itself for 13 years was an absolute minefield of a struggle for me, but I did it for humanity then. I got awards and I did that, but I did that from my soul, from my heart.
Yeah.
So for that to happen, Matt, was just the most horrific thing that anybody could do. But not only that, it was kind of like, and I told them, I said, take it away, please, this offence, I categorically would never inflict that on any human
you know
being
what it's like to have that done to
in
you.
my life. And don't get me wrong, we've talked before in part one how some people can go down a different path and then choose to abuse others. Choose to be a narcissistic, horrible person with no heart and turn cold. But for somebody to accuse me of that was like, literally, it nearly was the death penalty to me, but it was horrific. And so following that, I expected it to turn around really quickly. I had, my colleague who really helped me. I didn't have any support. People might say, well, you're arrested for that. Why should you have support? But, I hadn't done anything wrong. As in, what I'd done is I'd crossed the line. I'd done wrong in the job, and I know that. I know what I'd done wrong. But in terms of that, it was horrific.
Yeah. And would you say that this then, after everything that you went through, that was the catalyst which turned you towards substances?
That's it.
When did you realise that? Because I imagine maybe it started with a bit of drinking.
Yeah,
it was tell me how it started and how it progressed.
So the build up to that was I was drinking more alcohol and I'd had time off work just prior to this happening and I was drinking alcohol. And, following that, I literally started to drink heavily and it was binge. It wasn't like, there was a short period where I was like literally... It was the only method for me to block out what somebody had accused me of. And then what it also brought was all my trauma again from my childhood. And I sought help from the PFA to see a therapist because I'd been building everything up because of the Gary Speed stuff. And I'd worked out loads of things out with the rings of the football clubs and what was going on. And I was like looking into it all and stuff like that, as well as everything else that I was going through. But it was like bang. And it was like a Pandora's box had lifted off. And as people will watch this and they'll see that when a trigger or an event happens, it doesn't matter. It can be any time in life. It can be from a young adult. It can be from the teenagers. It can be whatever. But that substance for me was always in my life where it wasn't like as though it was the be-all and end-all to block out. But that was always my go-to to drink alcohol to wash out the trauma.
Yeah.
But not to that degree. And then when that started there, that was me. I was on, as they say, garden leave. I was at the home. I was and I was just drinking. And then there was a gap because I had some therapy. And that therapy sidetracked me again on the right path, hence me doing the Victoria Derbyshire. But following Victoria Derbyshire and the impact of the amount of interviews that I'd done, and I started smoking, that's that's another addiction, isn't it?
Stress management, isn't it? A lot of people turn to it, don't they?
And that trauma base that really sort of kick-started me into drinking alcohol a lot. And it was binging and binging and binging.
Was it any drink in particular, or was it just any alcohol you could really consume?
You see, with myself, it was never spirits.
Yeah.
It was just, any lager or cider or bottled cider and, stuff like that. But when you're in that destruction path of, I don't like saying the word addiction for some reason, but that relationship with alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, you name it, once you're in that, you're kind of in that hole. And what comes with that, what I've identified now, and obviously you see I'm good now, but back then when you've gone down that slippery slope of your relationship with it is that important. It goes past that element of your family, your friends, one's dearest to you, and you hear them when they're saying, "You've got a problem here. You need to slow down or stop drinking, etc., etc." But when you're in that binging or relationship with it, and when you've suffered trauma as a child, no matter what that is, whether it's from sexual abuse, family, anything like that, you end up with fear. And what runs alongside that is you're an empath, so you care, you've got a big heart. And then the next level with that is the anxiety.
Yeah.
And the anxiety that kicks, and that's one of the reasons you want to block out the past, because you're getting all these flashbacks. You want to get rid of any fear, because in drink you become confident, more able, and you can walk in somewhere and you can have a laugh and blah, blah, blah. But the anxiety level, it takes that edge off you. So you become calmer. You do know it's damaging your body, but that feeling of being all those three, everything else goes out the window.
Yeah.
And then when you wake up, it's that dread of that feeling. It's not, when you've done it for a period of time, like myself, I've been there.
Yeah.
It's not like a hangover. I used to have hangovers. I know what they're like. And you wake up in the morning and go, oh, gosh. Yeah. Do I have a hair of the dog, or do I have a bite to eat, or do we eat a McDonald's or a KFC? And by the night time, you're kind of like, oh, I'm coming round a bit now. No, it's deep, because you wake up with that dread of that feeling of anxiety rippling right through you. So the instant reaction is, how am I going to stop that? Oh, drink.
See, it's interesting, because everything you've described there for me is addiction, but you don't like to use the word addiction. Why do you think that is?
I think the stigma of the actual word is quite damning to people, and it's quite a negative word. I think in society, the way that we turn around and say, oh, you're an addict.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
it just doesn't. It's more of a horrible relationship with a substance, and you can't say that obviously, because the addiction is addiction. The word. But I just people will understand this, because when you've got a bad relationship with a substance, and then that word, because of the stigma around it, is you're an addict. Whoa, no, don't like that.
Yeah.
It internally, it hurts. Even though we have our own free will, that we've got ourselves into this mess, we still don't want to be in this mess. And when people go, oh, you're an addict, or are you an addict? Just the wording, there's
the denial about it, isn't there? I mean,
yeah.
I think if we look at the 12-step program, I think the first step is obviously to accept that powerlessness over addiction, isn't it? And you'd think for people in addiction, that'd be a quite easy thing to do. They'd look at the life around them and think, okay, I'm definitely powerless over this. But even step one can be quite difficult for people. Did you follow a 12-step program? How did it work for you?
Yeah, I've in the journey of Andy's relationship with alcohol, I've been to AA, I've read the book, I've done the 12 steps, and to be fair, the principles actually are principles of life. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's a substance or alcohol or drugs or anything like that. The 12 steps are really about life. Yeah.
See, a lot of people say that more people should follow a 12-step program without an addiction, because they'd live a much more fulfilling life.
Fulfilling life. Yeah. Absolutely that. So the actual concept that Bill brought up was really more about humanity. But what it then became a lot of men, groups of men. And I still think, I think women find it harder to be in that AA come 12 steps. So I did do the 12 steps, and, the fundamentals of that are right. But, is it the answer? I don't think it's just the 12 steps are the answer. There's so many.
I suppose to define the answer, you need to, again, define the question, because your relationship with alcohol now, from what I understand, you could have a drink now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is it something you've tried to do? Or have you just chose not to even? I mean, because one of the things I think the interesting thing about recovery is that a lot of people, from my experience of working in this field, and when you talk to people, there's this idea of, right, it's been a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. I'm no longer physically dependent to the substance now, so I can have just one drink. But of course, it's never just the one drink. No. The one drink turns to two. And then you might find that you're 3-4 weeks down the line and you're right back to where you was. Yeah. A couple of years ago, where you maybe first started abstinence. Yeah, how quick it rolls on.
I've been on that. I've been on that road. I've been in rehab. So in my journey, I knew I had a bad relationship with it. I knew it was really going worse. And is that my fault? Yeah, it's my free will. But also the fundamentals around that was the way I was being treated, how I'd been treated, all my trauma had caught up with me. So my only get out was to pick something up. You see, I never gambled, drugs, no, any of those other elements. But alcohol, I drank before, so I knew that it calmed me down, take me off. And then I went down that road. And people that say about alcoholism or drugs, etc., unless you've stepped over that parapet, social drinkers, they're not far away from it, because if they had ended up with a traumatic event, loss of someone's life or something huge, quite easily just then 2 becomes 3, becomes 4. 1 bottle becomes 2 bottles. And before they know it, without them even realising it, they're in denial that they are they an addict? Because where's the balance on here? Yeah. Are they an addict?
So when was the last time you had a drink?
Recently, I've had a couple. But
and it was able to just be a couple and that be that?
But what I also can identify, if I do, then what I do to myself is go, whoa, because I know that if I was to let that couple go into more and more and more, there's no doubt I'll be back to 2017.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest battle. And will I have this for the rest of my life? Probably. Because of, I always say it's the percentages that people say about addictions and the link to trauma. It's all right them saying, oh, it's this percent and that percent. Well, if you get 100 people or 1,000 people, if you don't pick the right 1,000 people,
the percentages are always going to be different.
Doesn't add up, does it?
The figures are always going to be skewed. I hate data research. We spoke to 100 people. It's like, because you know what I mean. You're still a very small amount of people you're speaking to. I could speak to 100 people and not one of them have experienced any form of addiction. No. And I can speak to 100 other people and maybe all 100 of them have. So your percentages are always going to be skewed in that 1 in 3 people. I suppose, I guess if someone was listening to this and they identified as, an addict and quite, avid follower of the 12-step program, they could listen to this and think, well, he was never an addict then, or he's not an addict because you can have you've got a bit more control over your use of substances than what some people have. So I guess the question is there a difference between addiction, which again, if you've had a physical dependency, that's it, and being an addict as well? Is there a difference between the two?
Bear in mind, this is like, I'm talking 2017. Of course, We're talking like 8 years that have passed now.
It didn't happen overnight, did it? You've worked to get to this
I've
point.
Worked all right, and I've had, relapses that many, and I was powerless to it. I've been in rehab, and rehabs are there. They're designed to get you off alcohol. They're there to protect you, because coming off alcohol or drugs has side effects, and they can be very dangerous. So it's all managed in that way. Some are better than others. They have statistics of people. Of course, but I know that the second one that I went in, there's quite a lot of them that relapsed, as I did. And you have all the intentions, you're clean, you feel great, you've been fed, you've been watered, you can't drink, you've gone through the 12 steps, you've been taken to AA, CA, you name it. And the families have paid X amount of pounds because they're not cheap. They're very expensive to go in a private one.
Yeah.
And then I think the support network after it, I think that's where the chain gets broken. Because you're kind of chained up in there and you have to go with the process. You have no option.
Yeah.
I mean, you can leave, but you're there for that purpose. And then you go back into reality in the real world. And then your relationships, it could be a partner, and your partner drinks. It happened to me. You know, my ex, I'd come out of rehab. Within 3 weeks, it was Barry Bennell's trial. She turned around and said, "Come on, D, have a drink."
Yeah.
Ooh, no, ooh. Oh, go on then.
Yeah.
That was it then. I was on.
So I guess looking at your relationship with alcohol now, do you know, bearing in mind what it has done to you, it begs the question why you'd even risk picking it up just for that one or two. Why do you think you do still feel like you can have a drink on occasion then after alcohol has kind of put you through so much turmoil and trouble?
I think because with myself, you know, it's probably me. I like to test myself.
Yeah. Okay. Is it a test worth doing though? I suppose that's the one thing, isn't it? The risk versus reward sort of thing.
Yeah, it is an element of that. But for me, every personal journey is different to mine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you know, we're human beings and we have our own free will.
Yeah.
You know, somebody that's a friend of mine that's in a different mindset, different situation, different trauma, different past, different journey, different road.
Everybody is an individual.
Gosh, that person, the actual one, or even half a one, or a sip of one, that could just completely obliterate years. Yeah. It could be 2 years, it could be 10 years.
Yeah.
I've known people 15 years. Just that sip of it, that's it then. Because the brain goes into, and it's not even the taste of the alcohol. It's something within it, you know, whatever's in it.
I think it's the circumstances that surround it. I think one of the things that I always found interesting is the relapse before the relapse, and it's something that people have said to me before, even previous guests on this series have said that, you know, often when a relapse happens, it happens long before they ever pick up a drink, and it's down to mindset and where you are. It is. And I think obviously you've said yourself, you know, you like to test yourself, and you can have a couple of drinks and you recognise when it can start to go too far and you know when to stop. That's great. As we said, everyone's individual, so not everyone can do that. But even that thought process of, I might just test myself. There's the relapse before the relapse. Or it could be you've got something stressful going on in your life. You may be experiencing a bereavement, and that in some way could be the relapse before the relapse, because you've already kind of decided to yourself, this is how I'm going to cope with this.
It is that, because that's exactly what happened to me in the past. It'll be an event, it'll be a subconscious traumatic event, or something occurs, or a stressful situation, and I'm real stressed. And that bubbles because the mind's then gone.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then environments where we can go in a shop. It doesn't have to be a pub.
No.
You go past those aisles and it's all in front of you. It's on advertisements. It's there. It's boom, boom, boom. And it can just take you.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, and like, you know, say I can have a couple of drinks. I'm testing myself. But also there's events that occur that can also go.
I think in some way as well, if you think of it like a bit of a traffic light system, ironically red being the safe zone, that's where you're there. Amber is the contemplation stage, which some people can be at. And for you, like you said, all it took was for someone to say, go on, have a drink. And if you're in that amber stage, that's someone basically giving you the green light to go ahead and have a drink. Exactly.
And more.
You know? And then that's where it can happen as well,
And that's the other thing. It's like, you know, the stigma around, you know, not drinking, which is, I think it's brilliant now that they've brought
got a lot better,
zero alcohol out.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be stood there with a
J2 or something like that,
which is good. Yeah. But it all boils down to, you know, with this word addiction or relationship with alcohol or drugs or gambling, they all are the same in terms of once you're in it, it's near impossible to get out, and you just don't know how you're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
And those people that, you know, when I said to you before about the hangovers, they're not hangovers. literally your body is rejecting the poison that you've put in. And although you know that's happening, you want it to go away.
Yeah.
So you'll just drink.
Yeah.
And it does.
You know it's going to, in a strange way, is make you feel better. I remember first hearing, the hair of the dog sort of thing when I was a teenager, and I was like, what, that can't be right, sort of thing. And obviously, I mean, it stems from somewhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I guess going back to the idea of the 12-step recovery groups and places that you found yourself in with AA, have you found that because of your views on your relationship with alcohol that you have been challenged within those settings or made to not feel welcome in those settings, or is it kind of, do they treat people on that individual basis really?
I think like anywhere, I think in certain, it depends on where you are and which ones you go.
Every group is different, isn't it? Yeah.
Like I said to you about every human being is different, aren't they? We're all different.
Every human is different, every group
is
different. Yeah.
And some have egos or they have different approaches. Also the other thing as well is like some people, can be like forceful with you. You are not drinking and be but you've got to understand that individual, because some people are in all walks of life. If you're shouting at someone that doesn't like being shouted at, then that's going to have an adverse effect on that person.
Absolutely.
It's understanding, and it goes back to that relationship, because relationship with alcohol, relationship with a partner, relationship with yourself. You've got to understand that individual, because every individual needs are different. Yeah,
I think and I always share this, but it really does resonate with me what you're saying there. I always say this: we can't tell someone to stop drinking, and I always use the wet paint example. Anytime I see a sign that says wet paint, if it's not like glistening and obviously red, there is part of me that wants to touch it and see if it's still wet, because it's telling me do not touch. I think I have this personality. When you tell me not to do something, I kind of want to double down and do it even more.
You've got it. Yeah. It's so true, because I used to get it all the time. I used to get it off my mum all the time. Stop drinking, and I'd be like, oh, what?
Yeah, you want to do it. And do you know what? I think looking at my teenage years, I had a friend whose family was really strict with him on everything. Now, my family weren't strict, but they weren't, completely passive either. But which one of us ended up in addiction? Was it my mum knew that I'd go out on the weekend and drink, and she'd say, just be safe, be careful, stay with your friends. I'm a teenager, she knew what I was doing. And then I had a friend who their parents had come down on like a ton of bricks for drinking. Which one of us ended up having problems with substances? It's the one that was told, don't do it, don't do it, this is wrong, this is naughty behaviour,
and that is so true about, when you're being told off and being shouted at, and especially that link with relationships, as in, relationships with your mum and dad when you're a child, watching your mum and dad argue, drinking, all of those elements, abuse,
the learned behaviour,
everything,
isn't it?
and when that happens to certain individuals, especially when we go back to those empaths, the ones that are in fear, it's like, oh no, don't shout at me, I need to pick up.
Yeah,
I'm going to drink.
Don't know how else to.
And as well, so they'll run away from the home. Their missus or partner or whatever, there's a big domestic, and they get in the car or get on a bus or get on the bike, and they go, pub, bomb.
I think as well with that is I always say this, but I think almost 100% of people out there have tried alcohol at some point. Not everyone's tried cocaine, not everyone's tried heroin, not everyone's tried cannabis. Alcohol is the thing that most people, again, I would say 99% of people have tried. So when people, and they understand, you see it in media and in culture, when people are stressed in the movie, in a movie or a TV show, where do they go? They sit at the bar and have a drink. So it's constantly fed to us that this is how you cope with these feelings,
They actually feed you.
Yeah.
They feed you. The system feeds you. Yeah. It's legal. It's the biggest killer in the world.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. It's fed to you, and people are actually encouraged to drink alcohol. It's on every show, the food shows, you name it, etc. And I'm not saying you can't do that, but also it's literally there in front of you everywhere you go.
What were some of the key steps then that you found to help you reduce your drinking or stop drinking? The practical emotional support. Obviously, you mentioned attending AA meetings.
Yeah.
What else did you do to help?
I did the rehab. I've done AA. And I think it's like when I talk to you about, you know, the child abuse with me. I'm very fortunate enough to have had all that therapy.
Yeah.
And 100% of any addiction, alcohol, drugs, or whatever it is, gambling, etc., is this.
Yeah, it's in the mind.
Our bodies are our bodies. We you know,
our bodies just do what our mind tells it to do.
Yeah, parts of our brain automatically do this, and our body works. But there's parts of our brain from our subconscious, like trauma, all the backstate, all the back of our life can pop up without us knowing it. And our brain is the one, it's like they say about like the devil on this shoulder and, you know, the good and the bad and blah, blah, blah. Have a drink, have a drink, have a drink. Go and do it, go and do it, go and do it. You'll feel better, you'll feel better. All of that is mindset. And it's your mind playing tricks with you. And it's telling you to do it. And then you go, no, I can't. No, yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. And it's that. So I've been very lucky with the therapy and stuff. So when it came to my way of recovery, it was all of those elements of, you know, 12 steps, family support, you know, people around me, the right people around me. Yeah. Which I didn't have the right people around me for a long period, and they were just filling me with drink. Oh, go out, even though they knew that I had a problem with it. Yeah. And that is bad. So it's detaching yourself from that.
Understanding for alcohol problems, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, I'd say it's all of that that I've been able to somehow get out of it. Am I prone to go back in it, or will I? There's hope. No, I don't want to go.
You're not fully 100% in.
Never can be.
No,
I would never sit here. And I've seen people. I've read books. I will never drink alcohol again. Yeah. I am cured. Well, are we? Are we ever cured from anything in life? You know, we don't know the future, do we? But it's like I read books about the power of now and. You cannot predict a future. You say to me, like, are you going to pick up again? Who's to say, you know, something happens out there in the next 2 hours, I have an absolute meltdown and I pick a drink up and just go on a binge.
I suppose that's the importance of having to work on it then every single day, isn't it? For not necessarily for yourself, maybe, I don't know, but for a lot of people. Because I often think, is it a bit too much, you know, when people do the morning meditation and the prayers and like, I'm like, is it that hard for people? But I suppose it's not that, to be fair, for some people every day may be hard, but then there's this element of it's preparing for, as you've just said, maybe eventualities that could happen. Like right now, I'm in a very carefree, happy moment right now in my life. Yeah, I could get a call 3 hours from now where my entire world could change. Do you know what I mean? You never know, do you?
Absolutely.
So it's about preparing for those eventualities. So I do get why people do have those like daily routines.
And all of those elements, like I say, it's, you know, all the past, you know, the tools that I've got in the box in terms of, you know, all my therapy. It's getting a routine. And once you're out of that routine, like, and then you go on that binge and you can't, it's impossible because you're that fearful of that feeling. So you just carry it on until your body just literally won't have any more. Yeah. And it's also the element of the meditation, the spiritual.
Do you meditate yourself?
I do all the time.
Daily, yeah.
Yeah. I do. And I also listen to frequency music because life is about vibration. Our energies, those around us can feed off, you know, other people's energies. Yeah. I think about who I'm going to be with. Am I with the right people here for me?
Energy is something I always find really fascinating because some people don't necessarily believe in it. And I get it because it does sound, for a lot of people, it does sound a little bit hippie and wishy-washy and energy, but I always found it interesting how, one of the moments that sticks out for me in terms of energy was walking into a room with both my parents, and I knew that they'd both had an argument. I wasn't there for it. I'd been playing out as a kid. I'd come in. But the second I walked in that house, washed over me. And they both greeted me with a smile. Hi, Matty, you all right? And I was like, something's not right here. And then, obviously, I went upstairs, and then I could hear them carrying on with the argument. And I was like, that's why I don't feel right they're arguing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how you can come into certain spaces and just know.
Energy in the room.
Or if you know, if this person has a problem with this person, you walk into a room, you can feel animosity between people. But I mean, I don't know if everybody's like that, or if it's just something that, some people have, or...
No, I think everybody's got it. It's whether you're in touch with that.
Okay, yeah.
And, scientifically, I don't want to... Because this is about the addiction, but it's linked to also energy and our spiritual awareness of who we are and what we want. Everybody just wants that balance, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Life should be balanced, and once you go off-piste, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, no matter what it is, we're off-piste. But it's just, energies has been proven with the heart by somebody that I know that's been doing it 30 years in Canada. He's established that the heart is more than just a pumping muscle. It's an energy. I mean, why do they have electric shocks?
Yeah.
Electrical energy to start it back up again.
Interesting.
There's all elements with that, and they talk about chakras and balance, but it all fundamentally goes down to alignment.
Yeah.
And just being balanced. Our bodies are straight, aren't we? We're supposed to be. We have a few curves here and there.
I always found it, sort of the yin and yang philosophy quite interesting.
And all of that has come into fruition in recent years. And like I said, there's no one fix, and you can't just say, oh, well, I stopped drinking, or I'm not an addict because this is the answer. And this is what frustrates me globally. They say, we've got all the solutions. Do this, read this book, do this, and you will be fixed. Hypnotherapy, that's going to fix you. Well, it's not just one element, because to get yourself in a balanced state, there's all different, and it's not just a quick fix either. I've worked hard, repetitively, every day. It's like, it sometimes is Groundhog Day, and sometimes you're weak, and you're just like, do I have to do this? Oh no, I don't.
Yeah, I imagine it's quite draining. I hate it when anything becomes a chore. Very different, but I've recently started trying to learn Spanish. I've got a little app on my phone, and some days I'm really up for it, and other days I'm not. But I've got a little streak on it. I'm on my 20-day streak, so I don't want to break my streak either. Yeah. But there's days when I'm really up for doing this, and there's days where I'm just not. And I imagine with this process of meditation, I imagine maybe some days you just can't be bothered to do it, but you kind of know you have to.
But that's okay, isn't it?
I suppose
it's okay.
Is that okay? Do you think
it's okay?
Yeah.
Listen
to your mind and your body.
It's like people that get fixated with the gym. That's good, because it's good for your mental health. It's good for your body. It's good for this. But you don't have to be obsessed with that. Well, that's okay. Don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Live in the now.
Yeah.
Don't think future, because that's where our brains and our minds do pick up a drink, or do touch, or do this, or do that. What if that? When I did that happened. Yeah. So we're going past tense, and then we're going future tense, and then we don't live in the now.
Yeah, I suppose I can kind of jump between these feelings, because I often say, I used to be quite keen on my fitness and my dieting, and it'd be like, I had a chocolate bar at 12 o'clock. Oh, fuck it, I'll have a pizza for tea then. I've knackered it now. Whereas I know from my PT that I used to have, he used to say to me, it's like, right, that's a blip. He said, you had the chocolate bar. He said, fair enough. He said, but if you still have let's say your chicken and rice as an easy example, you still have your chicken and rice for tea, you're still on track. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He said, so I guess, and I could just go back to my little app, if I break a streak, I suppose my 20-day streak, I might think, I'm not going to do it anymore. I've broke my streak. But the reality is, actually, well, no, mate, you don't matter. You can still carry on learning. Do you know what I mean? This is just a figment of your imagination. It's something just to draw you in to keep doing it. So you just got to get right back on it, haven't you, I suppose?
Even though you're talking about that, there's still a direct link there with relationship with substances, because if we break that cycle and we've gone on a streak, like you just said there, if we link that to alcohol, so we've gone on a brilliant streak, and we've been to AA and we've got these badges or tokens and all this and we're doing brilliant. And then bang, something happens and we go off piste. Then we go into destruction mode. I've broken that cycle.
Yeah.
And we're into self-destruct. It's my fault. I've done it, which it is our own free will.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Over a period, we've just got to try and dust ourselves down again, try and get back on that horse, back on that bike, and go, okay, it was a rough road, that.
Yeah. But I guess that's what I often say between the differences between lapses and relapses that people don't understand. A lapse is, you picked up, you had a drink.
Yeah.
But Christ, it was a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Get back on it, carry on your programme. Let's try and do a bit better tomorrow. But whereas if you just go off the rails for a month or whatever, then that's if you're back to square one.
But even if you do have a month, that's okay.
Because the mentality behind it, isn't it? Are you aware of it? Do you want to change?
Do you want to change? The mind has gone into automatic, I'm on it. And once that break of that cycle, so you've got your middle ground of, alcoholism, drugs, and then you've got the high end that have been doing it for 30 years or 20 years, constant and don't know anything different. They're all still empathic people with good hearts. There's not one, and I hate that word when they say, smackhead this and blah, blah. Sorry, they're human beings. They didn't, they were children.
That's it, isn't it?
When they were children, you wouldn't call them a smackhead then or anything like that. They've had events in their life from trauma, from childhood, or whatever that is, has caused them to go to pick up, inject, or whatever. But even those that are like that far,
this is it. You have to see people beyond it. And there's a video, I think I've talked about this before, of someone with a camera going down Skid Row. And all these people, homeless, addiction, so many people just under the influence, looking like some of them probably dead and no one's even realised it yet. That's how bad the video was. And one of the top comments on it, amongst obviously, to be fair, actually, I expected to see comments which would have been a barrel of hatred of comments like smackhead and those, stigmatic words that you'd experience or expect to experience in that comment section. But it wasn't. The comment section was very empathetic, and one of the top ones, had the most likes. And it's like, just think of it. These were all children once. What happened to them to get like this? And that's when your heart breaks.
It does. But I just wish that society would see that and take the blinkers off.
Yeah.
That what the government and what people and what they say. Well, hold on.
And it takes us back to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Looking at you and your story, you was an innocent child once.
Absolutely, no different to anyone else.
Exactly. You sit here now. You've had your problems with alcohol dependency.
Yeah,
but if people knew a fraction of what you'd gone through, the mind can't comprehend what you've gone through.
The computer's full.
You can't comprehend what you've.
And something's got to break. And this is not. I'm just one person that is able to come on here and hopefully help because I don't. I just want to give people hope that I've been there. And again, with when I said about panic attacks before and panic disorder and divorces and marriage and childhood and being raped and what happened, there's other people out there that have suffered the same or more or whatever. Everybody's life journey is different, but it's still fundamentally the same. It's trauma, it's fear, it's all the bad from the past has caused the causation of where humanity is now. And my heart goes out to everyone that because I have been there. And again, with the alcohol side of things, I won't wish it on anyone. It's awful. It's awful place to be. But when I was in that horrible place and where I was, I didn't see an out. My out was probably, just die. Not bother anyway.
Well, that's it. And I think if it's not alcohol dependency, if it's not substance misuse, it probably is suicide because,
It
again,
is.
the substance becomes the escapism to the
And
mind.
the
doesn't
amount
it?
of suicides that, you
I
know,
relate to it.
I've got to say, you know, when I have, alcohol has always been involved.
Yeah.
Always.
Did you feel that when when we talked about that, the prevention of football, of being the police officer, obviously there was the false allegation of rape that was the catalyst for this. But I imagine at that time as well, you're also dealing with, I mean, how old was you at this point? Can I ask?
That was 2015, so 42.
Okay, so you're dealing with still, 30 years of trauma at the same
as
time.
well.
It isn't
Yeah.
just this one,
No.
this allegation that has tipped
No.
you now. You've taken the plug out and the water's flowing through. Everything's
it.
coming at once
Yeah.
now, isn't it? What
Yeah.
was that like to be trying to address so many issues?
Yeah.
Childhood trauma, sexual abuse,
Yeah.
the everything.
I mean, relationships,
The
my
relationships,
marriages,
the
you know,
marriages.
another one had failed. You know,
Yeah.
that was my third one. And, you know, people sometimes go through one divorce, and that ruins people.
Of course, yeah.
But that was my third one. And again, it reverts to relationships because this was based on a relationship that, I'd crossed the line, I'd got wrong, and I'm always own up to the, my marriages, they dissolve because of issues, problems. But yeah.
Problems that you wasn't necessarily ready to confront and talk about, I guess.
And I had spoke about stuff, but I was, on that journey of that path of life throughout my 20s and 30s. And, I'd had panic attacks and panic disorder. I'd learnt a lot about the brain. I'd started to sort of see what had happened to me as a child. I'd had loads of therapy sessions, and I'm lucky because, the poor people, in this building that haven't had that, my heart goes out to them, but I had that. So I'd mentioned in my first interview that I'd done a lot of research and a lot of finding myself, and I had along that path.
Was you trying and you talk about the three failed marriages? Had you been transparent with each of them about your childhood, or did you so you'd been open with them?
Yeah,
as well,
I'd confided with love.
Yeah, of course.
Because I thought that was it. But unfortunately, again, relationships have two balanced sides, don't they?
Yeah.
A damaged one here, that's for sure. But also, they have accountability for their part.
And it is a balance, isn't it? Do you know?
Of course it is, yeah.
It's a 50-50 thing. I think that's what a lot of people understand with things like marriages. It often takes two people to make it fail, doesn't it, really? But
that was my
open about it.
Yeah, but that was always my history. I'd jump from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And I did do that again. Because
what was the reason for that? Obviously, because you're still relatively, young now to have gone through 3 marriages. Like, why was you jumping into obviously to have a partner, a girlfriend, to be jumping into that full commitment of marriage,
exactly,
one after another? What do you think the reason for that was?
I say it was only 2021 that I realised what that was. But a lot of it is about trauma, fear, loneliness, being on your own.
I was about to say, is that kind of what it takes to, is that idea of, some people have a really big fear of being alone.
Yes.
And almost like marriages, it's that lifelong commitment.
Yes.
I know you say you've done it for the irony saying you're doing it 3 times over, but marriage is that lifelong commitment. It's like, right, I've got someone now for the rest of my life. I'm never going to be lonely. And I thought, is that what you was chasing?
Yes. It's in the subconscious mind, and there'll be many that watch this that will go back and go, how many relationships did I have? And what did I do? Why did I stay with that person? They were narcissistic and I was in fear. Fear, you see, fear is, I was mentioning it before, is one of the biggest human issue in life. Fear.
This is the first emotion we'll ever experience in our lives is fear. As babies, you come out of the womb, you don't know what's happening.
This is it.
Subconsciously, you've just gone from this nice, secure place to now being in what the fuck's going on? It's fear. The crying, because you just don't, even at that level, being seconds old, you're experiencing fear. It's that what's happening to the body, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I completely understand that. What would you say the we often explore the rock bottom moments then. What was the rock bottom of because for someone with so much trauma, there's almost a lifelong rock bottom moment going on there. But what was the rock bottom moment in the point of alcohol dependency? And was it only alcohol, or did you touch other substances as well?
Yeah, I'll touch on to that. But pretty much on the journey, I say it's a journey. Well, it has been a journey, but it's a blooming tough one.
Yeah.
But throughout that, that period in 2015 and through that into 16, I can categorically say that I have proven that I didn't commit rape.
Yeah.
Not only proven it through, myself and the evidence is shown itself in statute, in history, that nobody could turn around and say that I haven't gone through every judicial process to get there. One, I was never charged with it, and rightly so, because I would have stood up till the end of my last breath. It wasn't going to go down that, because the evidence was all there to prove otherwise. I went through CPS, but I had to wait 18 months for a case that could have been dealt with within a month.
Yeah.
Because all the evidence was there.
Yeah.
It was there. And secondly, then the individual took it to an appeal. It went to an appeal with the CPS, a higher level CPS, that again said categorically not. Which, although I got justice in respect of that, and yes, I lost my job, which, I have no qualms with that, because I crossed the line in engaging in a relationship.
Yeah. Had you not, had you just done a home visit, for instance, come out and nothing had happened, then you could be, trying to fight for your job back. But if you can admit that, yes, I broke the code of conduct, and whilst I didn't commit a crime, I have broke a code of, you can still, like you said, there's no qualms about leaving. You've accepted your wrongdoing there, but not to the extent of what you was accused of.
Oh no, and there's so much more to it, and I will write about that, and I will tell the truth about the a lot more. But I went through that process of that, and throughout that, what run alongside that was my reliant on alcohol to take that out. And through that, I was, when I'd got to 2016, when I was at November, I'd started to become in a good place then, because what I did in probably start of 2016, probably February, March, I reached out, because I'd gone through from the June 2015 right the way through Christmas, and I mean, hit it.
Yeah.
Binging, 6-7 months of heavy. And I started to go, I need help.
Yeah.
And I've always cried out for help. Not cried, but I've always shouted out and said, I need something. So that's where I went. I met Dr. Lee Martin, and I did these sessions for months with him throughout the process of me, waiting for what the verdict would be from my police role. And I knew what it was going to be. Yeah. I wanted out anyway, after everything that had happened throughout the last 13 years. But then through that, through the therapy, I started to ease off. And I'd sort of not stopped drinking, but it was under a scope where I wasn't heavily drinking.
Yeah.
And then
just kind of keeping the dependency, keeping yourself at a level is
exactly
what
that.
Say,
yeah. And then obviously, I'd met Danny Taylor because the therapist had said to write it down, and how all that occurred. And then I met Danny Taylor, and he wanted to do a story, a truth about what had happened. And then I broke the story.
Yeah.
So in 2016, mentally, in terms of my childhood, I'd spent loads of years getting through that. The catalyst of what happened to me with the allegation and all of that was raw.
Yeah.
That was raw. But the childhood stuff that Danny wanted to do, and I wanted to help humanity, and it just happened that I'd had the therapy, I met James Bentley at Bury. What a great soul he is, by the way. And he introduced me to Danny Taylor. And it's funny how paths of life and destiny takes its course. And I went down that path and I broke the story. But breaking that story was, albeit, you know, it's become the biggest scandal in sporting's history. That scandal that I went on the front of the paper for not for myself, wasn't about Andy Woodward. It was that the narrative was that Danny Taylor wanted to do an article, and I said, brilliant, let's get it out there. Let's, you know, all of this that I've had to go through in life, and I know that so many more, and my life had been pretty much ruined up to 2015. You know, I'd lost my job, I'd had 4 marriages, I'd gone through...
4? I thought it was 4. Oh, okay, wow, yeah.
Sorry, it's 4 now. No, it's 4 now.
There we go. I was going to say.
You did say 3. Yeah, at that point.
Put an expiry date on your existing one.
It is 4 now, by the way. But yeah, 3 at that time.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's destroyed my life.
Of course, yeah.
This has destroyed my life. So I was thinking, how many others has it destroyed? Because if it's destroyed my life, there's so many more that in humanity that have. And I'd seen all the people with addictions and all of that through my career. Talked about the childhood, and I was going, enough's enough. You know, what can I lose? You know, I've lost my job, I've lost wives, I've lost everything. For what? Was that my fault at 10 when I went back over it? The child within. I was a child. I didn't ask.
Of course not.
My free will, the choices I made, my own free will, the wrongs that I've chosen, and the things, and the, you know, accountability. I was accountable for my police role. Yeah. Nobody put a gun to my head to go, oh, start texting this person and start meeting this person. That was my own free will. Yeah. It was trauma based because of the tension and like, oh yeah, you like me.
Yeah. Wanting to be liked, wanting to be loved, wanting to be needed as well. Yeah.
So, you know, breaking that also broke me. Yeah. Again. Because what I didn't expect is it to go the way the bomb it went off. And it was a huge bomb.
And the interesting thing, using, I suppose, bomb as the metaphor there, it was almost like, and I think we kind of touched on this in part 1, but you break this story, you're struggling with, you know, substance misuse problems, and, you know, it becomes the hot topic. Everyone's wanting to talk about it, and then it just fades away, and you're still trying to battle a substance misuse problem. It's almost like just the abandonment of the media, really. No follow-up support. And I think I've had guests on who have done reality TV, and I think if, you know, talking about things like Love Island, etc., you know, people who have killed themselves after appearing on that show, because the media use you, you know, your life is laid bare, your relationships are laid bare, your part of your story is laid bare for everyone to see. And then the show finishes and then that's it, it's done. And, you know, taking that to your experiences, you break this story, it's in the press, it's in the newspapers, it's on the telly, and then once the story's broke, that's it. Thanks for your time, Andy. Yeah. Off you go.
You know, with that, it's so poignant to see. But I was the example of what shouldn't happen. Number one, within 24 hours, I was not hauled down, I had a choice, but come down to Victoria, Derbyshire. Yep. And would you do an interview about it? In my mind, I'd made, before I made the decision to do the paper, it was life or death. Because I'd said, like, you know, if this goes wrong, I've got my family, I've got my children, I've got, you know, my sister married him, she's got kids, and this could absolutely, like, you know, but on the other hand, it was like, no, I've had enough. And also, that being let down, I felt let down by the police. Why didn't you protect me? I felt let down by football. Why haven't you protected me? You know, and it was like, well, I'm on my own here.
Yeah.
It's just me, myself, and I.
Yeah, a very isolating process, isn't it?
So as you look at vulnerability, although, I went on that program on my own on the sofa, and I watched it back just recently after I've done your podcast.
Yeah.
And I reflected on it, and I've watched it. And if anybody's to watch that, you'll see me saying that I've recovered now, I've got this, I'm all right with my childhood, which I was. But beyond the surface of that, I'd just gone through an awful trauma. I'd had 6-8 months of hardcore drinking.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I saw the child within me.
Yeah.
I was like a child, vulnerable.
Yeah.
Talking about a subject as I would do as about my childhood, about being raped, about etc. And, there was a question that Victoria asked me, and I was like, and I did well because I'm a natural at this. I'm a speaker. It's a gift I've got. It's what I do,
Yeah.
But what was interesting is I watched, and she asked the subject of my sister marrying Barry Bennell. And I managed to sidetrack it, but I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
Because in my head was, you've just blown a nuke bomb off in my head, and I'm live on TV.
Yeah. So you weren't expecting that question at all? Nothing was agreed upon to talk about
that. And I don't know how I got out of that, but I did.
You did, yeah.
I did well, and I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But when I watched myself, that was a vulnerable child in an adult's body talking about a subject. And then a week later, great idea, the BBC, whoa, let's get the others on the sofa.
Yeah, I've seen that clip as well. Yeah.
And let's put Andy on the edge. Poof. That's like looking at a bunch of boys on there. Yeah. I'm a child on the end, and I'm crying my eyes out. Beggars belief.
I know.
And then they go on to win a BAFTA for it.
They won a BAFTA?
They won a BAFTA.
What do you mean they won a BAFTA? For that?
Victoria Derbyshire show won a BAFTA for that second interview.
You can win a BAFTA for an interview.
Powerful. Yeah.
So talk to me about that then.
It was bloody powerful, wasn't it? Mind my French, but that was powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like to see then when you saw she won a BAFTA for?
No, she spoke to me on the night, and it was great, Andy. And I'm in a bad place then, but I'm kind of like a week on, and I broke the biggest story, the biggest truth that hit the world in sport, and there's a legacy there. But a week later, I'm on the edge of a sofa with 4 lads who go on to destroy me, by the way. But we'll talk about that. But I'm sat there, and I'm like, and I'm not sat here now feeling sorry for myself. What I'm actually saying is that those people that do what you said there, that's the question. Yeah. So they go on to TV, and they just get, thank you.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. The 2 times there, and it's nothing against any of, Victoria or those camera people there, but there was nothing in place there to aftercare somebody speaking on live TV. It was everybody left and off you go.
Do you think that's different now? Or do you know if it's different now? Or do you think it'd be the exact same if the same thing was to happen right now today?
It's a system, and I know a lot about the media now. Made a film and done all that. It's a system that runs everything's like that.
Yeah.
And when you're doing interviews with people on the news or those kind of things, it's a churning of people coming in, coming out. I've been in plenty of green rooms. I've been in plenty of them, and literally it is like you sit in the green room, you sat there, everybody sat with each other, awkward, and everybody's like, "Oh, hi. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this. Great. See you later." And you don't see him.
Never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again. And it's literally a conveyor belt. But when you're talking about serious issues, you're talking about both. there's got to be something in place.
And I mentioned reality TV then, and the reason why I asked, do you think it's changed, is because with, again, Caroline Flack and her suicide and the suicides that have come from Love Island and those who would participate in it, I just wonder if they've maybe made some changes within the industry to, I suppose, protect and care for people who are actually sharing these stories. I just can't imagine having someone come on talk about childhood, sexual abuse in the way that you did, and them saying, off you go. And not to say that I don't believe it happened. I do believe it happened, but I just like to think if it happened today, with everything that's happened in the last 10 years, would it be a little bit different? But again, who's to know?
Now I'm talking now, I'm in a great place,
Yeah, of course,
and I mean, I'm not talking on here I was 2016 and going, I'm in a great, Andy's in a great place, but actually behind the scenes, I'm like knocking drinks back and like that. Yeah. No, I'm in a great place now, but it's a reflection of past, and we can't change it. But what we can do is reflect on that past and talk about it like we are now.
Yeah, and maybe now, as you've said, you are recharged and you are a different person to what you was when that story broke 9 years ago. Maybe it will get picked up again, and maybe you'll be in a much better place to be able to contribute to it as well.
Yeah, and I am, and I've done a full circle. Forgiveness.
Yeah.
I'm at peace. I'm at peace with them. I'm at peace with the FA.
Would you say, just a quick one, would you say it's forgiveness or more acceptance?
Both.
Yeah.
Because the acceptance is the first part. Forgiveness,
comes
people
after
say that I'll never forgive them. It's not forgiving their action, what they've done, because that's the reality. That's tangible. The forgiveness is around everything that runs around that, the emotion, the damage, all of the things that happen around that.
Yeah,
you've got to forgive that,
of course. Yeah.
Because if you can't, you end up, addiction still will hold you.
Yeah,
the poison, we will still put the self-medication. It's so hard. Yeah, well, that's what's wonderful about what you're doing with this podcast.
Thank you.
No, truly, this is probably the first one that I've done where I am at peace with myself.
I'm glad. And you can see it as well, actually.
Yeah.
See body language and everything.
Yeah.
What advice would you give, based on your own experiences, for someone who is struggling with problems related to alcohol or to substances in general? What advice would you give them to, I suppose, live maybe a more fulfilling life, or if not a sober and clean life?
Yeah, I think to start with, I think like anything from panic attacks that I had, panic disorder, all the elements throughout my life, is that we can only start in the now. Like this second, like me, and every minute is the now, or half an hour or an hour, and that's okay. I don't like people or humanity that say, told you, or look, you've relapsed. Oh, look, picking up again, are you? It's a journey. It's not just a quick fix, and it's taking one day at a time. I used to do it, when I was deep in depression, deep in anxiety, deep in panic. That hour, I used to go, oh, I'm still alive. I'm still here. So using those tools, that me doing that, I'm still alive, because a panic disorder, I thought I was going to die every minute, to I got an hour with the alcohol. I did it for an hour. Yeah. I've done it for 2. I'm proud of myself. And actually be proud of yourself. No matter what anybody else says, it's about oneself. And keep that hope. Okay, I did it. And 1 hour, 2 hour, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week, whatever. It's our own personal journey. And we should be proud of that. When they give the 12 steps, it's great to get an award, isn't it? That you've done it, a milestone, like a streak. Yeah. But what I'd say is just take each hour, day, week, month, and live in the now. And that I refer to now because that's one of my tools is to try utmost to live in the now with our brains. Because if we let our brains go back, it brings it to the now, the trauma, pick up or whatever. Don't like that. And the future is the what if. What if I go to the shop and I pick up? Then the brain starts going.
Yeah.
It's trying to just focus in on the now and be kind to ourselves. Because we're all empaths that have addictions and, problems. You tend to find those that are not empaths, that are narcissistic or greed and ego and stuff like that, can be different. So I can't, I'd love to, in the future, I'd love to coach. I'd love to, go to places. I'd love to give inspiration, but also help others.
Yeah.
Because that's my journey. That's my path. But the most important thing is what we are, is we're hard on ourselves. We destroy ourselves. We hurt ourselves. And it's to being kind to ourselves and living in the now and using all the different methods that is put in front of us, whether that is meds, whether that is therapy, whether that is, meditation, because everybody's different. And if they find something that seems to light bulb in the head and go, hey, it's working, this.
Yeah. Stick with it.
You're on the right path.
Mm.
And then you can add other things to that to keep that going.
Yeah. Andy, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I like to end all my podcasts on, and more importantly, with something like this one where we've discussed such heavy topics, it's nice to do something completely relevant to what we've done so far. And my first question for you, Andy, is what's your favourite word?
Hope.
Least favourite word?
Fear.
Tell me something that excites you.
Love.
Something that doesn't excite you.
Darkness.
A sound or noise that you love.
Ooh. Music.
A sound or noise that you hate.
Oh, you're testing me now. What do I hate? Sound or music? Horror music.
What's your favourite swear word?
Can't say it.
I get everyone says this. I know exactly what word you're talking about when I ask when people say that as well.
C-U-N-T.
Yeah. And what profession would you, other than your own, would you like to attempt? Had you not done football, had you not been in the police, what profession would you have liked to have done?
Public speaker.
Nice. Andy, thank you so much for joining us on the Believe in People podcast. You have been wonderful.
And I will be a public speaker one day.
Yeah, I can absolutely see it, to be fair. Yeah. Thank you. How was that for you?
No, that's brilliant.
And if you've enjoyed this episode of the Believe in People podcast, we'd love for you to share it with others who might find it meaningful. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And leaving a review will help us reach more people and continue challenging stigma around addiction and recovery. For additional resources, insights and updates, explore the links in this episode description. And to learn more about our mission and hear more incredible stories, you can visit us directly at believeinpeoplepodcast.com.